Good evening. Ann and I are so pleased to have this opportunity of being with you for this very celebration. We're sorry that we cannot be here with you in person, but this technology will have to take its place. It was in 1982 that we first came to Federated Church, and boy, does that make me feel old. In sharing memories tonight, I want to start with our two sons. Jeremy was 2.5 when we came to West Lafayette. He loved watching the Purdue band practice their marching and loved going to the airport, watching the planes taking off. He attended Happy Hollow Elementary School and Birdsfield Middle School, and at the time the principal of Birdsfield was one who had been a finalist in the Teacher in Space program. Matt was born at Home Hospital and loved going to Federated Preschool. He too loved to see the band marching and practicing, and he especially loved all of the activities that took place on North Chauncey Street where we lived, especially the 4th of July celebration. And perhaps most of all, he enjoyed going to the Purdue Horticulture Farm where we always enjoyed the apples and the cider. And boy, do we all miss that cider and wish that store was still open. Large part of my activities involved Christian education, and one of the really creative things we did was to create a new model of Vacation Bible School for 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. We selected a musical, worked on that for the entire week, and then shared it as part of the Friday night closing or Sunday morning worship. And all of the games and the activities, everything was integrated to fit into the theme of the musical. For example, we did Let's Go with Mo, or Let's Go with Moses, a story of Moses leading his people in the Exodus from Egypt, where they had to endure making bricks for the Pharaoh day after day after day. So we made bricks, and we went outside behind the Trimmer Fellowship Hall in that big grassy area and made our own bricks of mud and straw. And boy, did we get dirty, but we felt some kinship with the slaves at that point. We also did a musical entitled It's Hot in the Furnace, the story of Daniel. And it was the first time that I had used a computer in Christian education. And of course, back in those days, it was the old green screen, and someone had developed a game for us which highlighted Daniel's life. You can imagine how busy all of the kids and ourselves and our teachers were, and how much time and effort it took, but it was well worth the work that we all put into it. Part of my job description involved youth. We had youth activities on Sunday nights, fun fellowship. We also did several retreats at Turkey Run and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes Camp. And I remember Roger Miller being so helpful in providing music for us for that. For Sunday morning Sunday school, the Amoses were so instrumental in helping lead that, and Mike and Ellen Gibson were invaluable youth leaders with me. One of the fun activities we did for a senior youth fellowship is to make and sell pizza. And perhaps those of you who were youth at that time remember that was the fundraisers for the work trips in which we took part every summer. We went to Colorado, Green Lake, where we worked on houses for individuals. One summer we stayed in Lafayette and worked at the Boys and Girls Club. Appalachia, we again worked on people's houses, and help them develop a sense of dignity and joy in owning their own home that was now in good shape. At the end of the year, at our spring SYF Senior Youth Dinner, I asked, what was the most significant event for you for the year? And almost to a person, everyone replied, it was the work trip. Because we began each day with a scripture, a short study, and then the rest of the year, the rest of the day, we put that scripture into practice. And what a joy that was to bring, again, hope and celebration for people to see their home or their outside take new shape. Perhaps the most creative project we did was the Sunday school and Sunday morning sermon workshop and study. Gary and I think Norm Godby also helped us. We chose 36 to 40 scriptures, starting in Genesis and going through the book of Revelation. And each Sunday morning, one of those passages was studied by kindergartners through adults, and then the morning sermon was on that scripture. So it was a well-integrated time of learning and study and inspiration. And of course, that was a project that took so much time and effort. And I remember particularly Phyllis Cobb and Kim Miller being instrumental in developing the curriculum for those age groups. I want to credit Gary for all of his support and encouragement of this project, which took so much of his time as well, and also his teaching and of course preaching on each of the topics. And it was the only time that I was ever published in an article in an education magazine called Baptist Leader. In addition to the education focus, I enjoyed particularly the emphasis upon mission that the church placed. And I think my favorite Christmas activity was called Christmas Jubilee. Some programs just wrap presents for people and take them to their home and drop them off maybe with a credit card and some food. But through Jubilee Christmas, no, it was so much different. People came to the church and they were able to shop, as you so well know, for their own gifts and to be helped by folks who were hosts and hostesses from the church. And it gave people such a dignity, I think, to be able to choose their own gifts that they wanted for their children and for other family members, and to wrap those themselves, and to take them home and put them wherever they wanted to, and then present them to family members and friends and children. And I just think that was one of the most dignified Christmas projects that I have ever been involved with. In addition, we hosted a man named Ralph Showers, who was the founder of Rainbow Acres, a ranch for mentally handicapped and some physically handicapped individuals in Arizona. Ralph himself was handicapped, having lost both of his hands in accident while developing the ranch. As far as I remember, it's the only ranch that was a working ranch and the only type of ranch of its kind which gave a place for mentally handicapped people to work and to live and to acquire skills and dignity in their lives. One of our church members got so excited about the project that she and others said, we need to develop a computer lab for Rainbow Acres. She had the skills and the knowledge to do that. So she took a group with her out to Arizona, and they developed the lab and taught the staff how to teach, so that this became yet one more way for the ranchers to develop dignity and knowledge and grow to the point where they might even be able to acquire some jobs outside the ranch. It was also a privilege to be able to go to Lafayette Urban Ministry and help people go through the maze of the township trustee in order to get their social needs met. And at times when their application for help was denied, we would accompany them to the trustee as well and try to see that their needs were met. Finally, Stephen Ministry, a program which trained lay leaders to minister to folks both within the church and outside in the wider Lafayette area. It was a lot of work, and sometimes I think my family members thought, where have you been and where are you going all this time? The time that it took to be away from home. Anne remembers the time when the nativity set that we kept on our piano, Matt was maneuvering the characters and the animals, and Anne asked him, "What's going on there?" And Matt replied, "They are going to Stephen Misery." And I'm sure many people involved in the program could sympathize with that, because it was a lot of time away from family, maybe for some even for work, but it was a wonderful ministry in which I and all of you were involved at that time. Next, I'd like to let you know how Federated helped prepare me to be a senior pastor. In 1990, I went to Lebanon to be their pastor, and I carried with me many experiences and examples that I learned from staff and from you all while I was with you for those 8 years. First, Gary and Brian's example of the importance of staff meetings, so that the whole team was involved in planning and developing and working together. I particularly appreciated Gary's example of widening my job description, of giving me lots of latitude and lots of different experiences that I would not have gotten, and I took that on as a model that I was using. I continued the support of Rainbow Acres Ranch. We hosted Ralph Showers at our church. We supported his work, and we also did several work trips out to Arizona to help out the staff and the rangers. I continued the strong Christian education focus, and at one point we had, Anne reminded me, about 8 different adult classes, and it was a joy to continue what we had developed here at Federated. I also continued support of the ecumenical ministries through an organization called the Caring Center and Food Bank, and it was Lebanon's version of the Lafayette Urban Ministry. And a very fun activity, Gary and Barb always hosted staff and spouses for a Christmas dinner, including gifts of a wonderful peanut brittle. And we continued that all the years that we were in Lebanon, and have continued that for our family and friends as well. I have just a few random memories that don't seem to fit perhaps in any particular category I've already talked about. I remember those picnics that all of the senior adult Sunday school classes had. One in particular, our host had just finished working on and building his own airplane, and he happened to have his own landing strip in his backyard. So he took Matt and Jeremy up for their first airplane ride. There were all church camping trips, and there was a very popular and well-attended softball league, and we have a picture somewhere of myself and 3 or 4 other players with bandages on our arm where we had given blood earlier in the day. And it reminded me of the importance that we placed on getting regular attendance at the softball league. Also, young adult class had a lot of fun when we dressed up as characters in the TV show MASH, and came together and watched MASH's final television show, and that was hosted by students in the school, in the church, Bruce and Mary Litchfield. After 17 years in Lebanon, I was privileged to serve 5 years as palliative care chaplain at St. Francis Hospital in Greenwood, and that was perhaps my most memorable and most exciting ecumenical event that I had ever been involved with, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity. Since retirement, we have taken several great RV trips. And has directed several handbell choirs. We moved closer to our boys. We have spent much time doing child care for our grandson Alistair, Matt's son, who was born with numerous health issues, and this was our way of supporting their family, and Alistair in particular. I have also been doing for the past 8 years something called pet therapy, where I take my Labrador Retriever to the hospital and we visit patients and staff and bring them in this unusual way joy and happiness, support and caring, and it is so much fun and such a blessing to be able to see a dog become part of the healing and the caring process in the hospital. For the past 8 years, Ann and I have also volunteered at Green Lake Conference Center. She doing work in managing the country store, and I serving as a campground host. In terms of what our family is doing now for the boys, Jeremy lives in Alexandria, Virginia. He has 3 children, Zoe, Zara, and Zeke. He works at the Goddard Space Center, focusing on communications between the NASA and the International Space Station, and currently working on his master's with Purdue Online in IT management there at Purdue, and also plans to pursue, if he is accepted, a doctorate in the same field. Matt lives in Maryland and received his master's in international studies with the concentration on Asia from George Washington. He spent 2.5 years in Mongolia teaching English with the Peace Corps, and yes, we did go to visit. And he spent a number of years at U.S. Agency for International Development, which gave him an opportunity for several trips to Asia, and now works for the International Monetary Fund there in Washington. Paul opens and closes many of his letters with words of thanks. I thank my God, I'm joyful because of your partnership in the gospel with me. And this evening, as we close, I want to thank you for the partnership that we had for 8 wonderful years, for the way you took in our family and made them part of the Federated family, and gave me experiences which helped prepare me for a new phase of ministry. And I wish you grace and peace from God, and hope that God will continue the great work he has continued there at Federated Church. Thank you for those wonderful 8 years of partnership in ministry.